Alright, so as much as I would like to be making another silly video about Conor McGregor where I poke fun at him for being in love with the Peruvian marching powder, unfortunately this is not going to be one of those videos. Because this past week, Conor has found himself in the news cycle once again, but this time it's in regards to his ongoing sexual assault case dating back to December of 2018. And literally just hours ago, Conor's defense attorneys held a brutal cross-examination against his accuser, and after today's court proceedings, I think the entire landscape of this case might have been flipped on its head. Now, before I go any further, I just want to say innocent until proven guilty. And until it becomes clear beyond a shadow of a doubt whether or not Conor is innocent or guilty, I am going to refrain from giving my own personal verdict on the situation, and this is where you guys come in to give your own thoughts. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about all of the details of Conor's current court case. You might be asking, why is something that allegedly happened in 2018 worth talking about today? Well, that's because much like American courts, it seems like Irish courts take forever for cases to go to trial as well. And even though in a month it's going to be 6 full years since the alleged events of this incident took place, the real legal battle is only just starting, which is wild to me. Anyways, on December 8th, 2018, this woman named Nikita Hand, as well as one of her friends, was picked up by Conor in his chauffeured car, and according to her, she was under the impression that they were going to go to a party together. During her court testimony on Tuesday, she admits that when she messaged Conor, she had already done a bit of drinking and snorted some lines. However, when they got picked up by Conor, instead of actually going to another party, they instead traveled to a penthouse suite at the Beacon Hotel in Dublin. After a little bit more drinking and a little bit more of the devil's dandruff, Conor allegedly beckoned her into the bedroom of the suite and she joined him. But when it became clear that he was trying to hook up with her, she says that she refused by saying that she didn't want to have sex and that she wasn't there for anything like that, and she also mentions that he wasn't taking no for an answer. She also mentions in court that she told him that not only was she on her period, but she also had a boyfriend and she personally knows D. Devlin. However, in spite of her alleged objections, she says that Conor forced himself on her and choked her, and in response, she bit him. This apparently angered him, so he turned her around on the bed and basically put her in a rear naked choke sort of grip, at which point she tried to fight him off a couple of times before she became too exhausted to resist. And according to her, during the repeated process of choking her, Conor said to her, and I quote, "That's how I felt in the octagon and I had to tap myself out 3 times. After telling the court this line, she then said, "I thought it was such a weird thing to say. I promised him I wouldn't tell anyone anything." And yeah, let's just say that if all of this is actually true, then this is in fact a very weird thing to say. But this is such an outrageous and cartoonish line that just honestly sounds a little bit too bizarre to be true. And even though Conor is an outrageous and cartoonish person, this quote just seems a little bit unbelievable to me, even for Conor's standards. This portion of her testimony has stood out to me the most, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Okay, back to the story. It was at this point when Conor supposedly removes Nikita's clothes and proceeds to violently rape her. And the day after the alleged incident, Nikita paid a visit to a gynecologist named Daniel Keene, who also testified to the court on Tuesday, and according to Keene, he observed extensive bruising across several different areas of her body, as well as a laceration across her left breast. Keene also mentions that during this examination of the accuser's body, he had to use a pair of forceps to remove a tampon that was wedged inside of her. Oh, Jesus. This doctor, who also works as a forensic examiner in sexual assault cases, said that out of the hundreds of examinations that he's conducted on women, this particular instance was, quote, quite unusual. Not only that, Nikita is also suing Conor's friend James Lawrence for sexually assaulting her on the very same night while she was apparently blacked out and she has no recollection of the assault happening. The only reason that she knows that she had intercourse with Lawrence is because Lawrence himself admitted to having a consensual hookup with her when he was brought in for questioning by Irish law enforcement. And when the police circled back to Nikita and informed her that James said this, she says that she was shocked by the news because she didn't remember this happening at all. Nikita then opened up a second civil suit against Lawrence, much like she's done with Conor. Now let's talk about Conor's side of the story, because just today, even more details have come out that definitely paint this situation in a different light to many people, myself included. First and foremost, Conor's lawyers have maintained from the start that the encounter was completely consensual and assert that Nikita had several different opportunities to complain about the situation, yet she didn't. They also say that this is a clear attempt at extortion, seeing as this is not a criminal case, but a civil case where if Conor was found guilty, Nikita would be entitled to a cash payout. According to more CCTV footage presented this morning by Conor's defense attorneys, video evidence timestamped from after the alleged assault shows Nikita in the elevator with Conor, and it appears to show her hugging Conor and even kissing him on the arm. After watching the footage in court, she claims that she was blacked out by this point in the night and doesn't remember this portion of events. During today's cross-examination, Conor's lawyer questioned her on how she could vividly remember the details details of the assault, but doesn't seem to remember that just minutes later she was snuggling up to Conor and affectionately kissing him. In response to this, Nikita maintains her stance and says that in spite of what can be seen on video, she was still brutally attacked and that the footage doesn't justify Conor for what supposedly happened in the hotel suite. She also revealed today that she asked her friends to delete all of the text messages from the night in question because she, quote, feared for her life. Moreover, additional CCTV footage shows Nikita in the basement of the hotel with James Lawrence, who she is also suing for rape, where she can be seen kissing him on the cheek multiple times and their arms were wrapped around each other. In spite of all of the new additional video evidence being shown in court today, Nikita repeatedly claims that not only at this point in the night was she blacked out, but she was also in a frazzled state of mind and wasn't thinking clearly. She says that she doesn't remember these sequences of events throughout the night, but she does seem to remember making it back to the hair salon that she worked at so that she could turn in her keys to her manager, as well as inform her manager that Conor McGregor just assaulted her that same evening. Look, I don't want to prejudge any of this case yet because according to the judge, we still have about 2 weeks of the trial before they're expected to give their verdict, but I will say that these new videos that have come out definitely do not help her case. And I can totally empathize with her that she may have in fact blacked out, but that doesn't really change the fact that the court heard her story of the events that took place, and then they watched her getting lovey-dovey with Conor and James on video after the alleged assaults happened, and yeah, let's just say that her lawyers are going to have to dig themselves out of a hole after today's cross-examination. Because from a court's perspective, how can you judge someone as guilty in a case such as this when the victim can be seen snuggling up to her assailant and kissing their arm just moments after the assault happened? The whole point of courts and trials is to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that a defendant is guilty, and with the new video evidence provided by Conor's lawyers, I think it's going to be very hard to convince the court that they didn't consensually hook up. Because admittedly, after following this case since the beginning of the trial, in my opinion, it definitely feels like Conor's side has gained the upper hand in the court proceedings after dropping these videos. Like, the details of Nikita's initial testimony were very horrific and painted Conor in a terrible light, but at the end of the day, that's just her side of the story, and she obviously didn't have much hard evidence to corroborate it besides the testimony from the gynecologist, which is admittedly pretty compelling stuff seeing as he's also a forensic examiner. But again, from the court's perspective, the hard video evidence of Nikita getting affectionate with both McGregor and Lawrence right after they both allegedly assaulted her probably throws a big wrench in their case. At the end of the day, I want to stay open-minded about this ongoing trial, but if her strongest argument in response to these videos is simply "I don't remember this happening," I really don't think that's going to be very compelling to the court. And in my completely legally meaningless opinion, if we are speaking from an MMA perspective here, after a strong start from Nikita, I think that Conor has come back a little bit stronger and is probably up 10-9 heading into the rest of the fight. With that being said, I am very interested to hear what the prosecution comes up with to counter today's findings, whether it be photos of the supposed bruising on Nikita's body following the incident, or if they end up bringing in Nikita's friend that was apparently supposed to be there in the hotel suite throughout the entire night. Look, this is obviously a really messy situation, and we're barely even 25% done with the trial, so as a fan of the UFC and drama, and as a massive fan of UFC drama, I'm really interested to see what more twists and turns this case brings us in the next 2 weeks. And I am going to end this video off by saying this: I do not want Conor to be found guilty of a scandal such as this. Yes, Conor is a very imperfect person, and he clearly has some demons that he needs to get sorted out, but at the same time, I really don't want to live in a reality where Conor McGregor, the guy that propelled the sport of MMA to new heights and brought us so many amazing moments in the process, is found guilty of sexual assault. It would be a massive stain on the UFC and MMA as a whole, and it would be insanely disappointing for a court to determine that he's guilty. At the end of the day, I can disagree massively with a person's decisions and lifestyle choices, much like I do with Conor, while at the same time not wanting him to be a rapist. Anyways, that's the video for today. Definitely let me know what you think about Conor's current situation and his ongoing trial. Do you think that there's any chance that Conor can be found guilty in this case after the new video evidence that has been revealed today? As always, if you like the video, then like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.